to come out. So I think it's on a ticking time bomb, and I would dread to see what comes.
So two nations in our neighborhood, both owe their existence to Bharat, are perhaps on the cusp of military rule. And what has Bharat done about it? One in the next 24 hours, the other perhaps in the next 6 months. We leave you on that note. Plain Speak up next.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Operation Sindoor started with a rare show of bipartisan support in India. But soon enough, the fight against terrorism has turned into a political fight. Some factions of the Congress and like-minded parties like the Shiv Sena UBT initially agreed to support the government but have since descended into complete politicking. It has come to a level where one leader has even said that Operation Sindoor is a failure, a word that has not been used in connection with this operation by anybody else. Lots of problematic statements have been made over the last 2 weeks, which have not only been used by Pakistan to further its own narrative, but also have ended up, once again, questioning the forces. Even though the parties concerned, the leaders concerned would say that they're not questioning the armed forces. Despite several clarifications, the Congress continues to harp on the ceasefire, for example, and the mediation claims. Strangely, members of its own party are refuting these claims as part of the all-party MP delegations overseas. But that is not to deter leaders at home. The Prime Minister today in Gujarat shot off a jibe at the opposition for seeking saboot or evidence on India's precision strikes against Pakistan in the past. Interestingly, he didn't name the Congress, but the latter ended up calling him a coward. Why is a section of the Congress party so at odds of its own leaders who are speaking another language? What is the compulsion that some of them feel when they even end up calling the External Affairs Minister a traitor? And importantly, has the Operation Sindoor kind of split the Congress wide open? We'll take that to our guests in just a bit. But first up, take a look at the complete confusion within the Congress party today and ask if these statements are not being made purely out of politics. Congress has been questioning the government on the ceasefire and mediation issue despite clarifications, like I said. Their own leader, Manish Tiwari, has sought to drive some sense into this issue when he said that talking to other countries doesn't mean mediation. During wars and conflicts, US may speak to both sides, but that doesn't mean that they mediated between India and Pakistan. This should have been obvious to the likes of Rahul Gandhi by now. Congress chief and leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, during an address called the operation a small or a chutput war. Their own leader, Shashi Tharoor, had said that the strikes were a befitting reply to Pakistan, which showed that India will not bow down to terror. Even any independent estimate says today that what happened between India and Pakistan in its drone and air warfare cannot be called small by any means, just because it was no combat warfare. In fact, it is being seen as a military masterclass by India in modern warfare. Another Congress leader, Jairam Ramesh, asked how many aircrafts did India lose? A remark then echoed by several of the other leaders. But Congress's own Salman Khurshid himself put forth the more reasonable stand here, that it's okay if the government cannot disclose certain things due to sensitivity of the situation. From Rahul Gandhi to Pawan Khera, all have accused External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar of sharing strike details with Pakistan beforehand, a ridiculous claim, even going on to tag him as a traitor. But their own top leader, P. Chidambaram, was unwilling to further this politics and slander. He just completely slid away from this remark. Some of the harshest critics of the BJP politically are taking the government's and India's stand to the world today and speaking in one voice. Is it not an opportunity missed for the likes of Rahul Gandhi and others? Listen in to some of those comments.
And these stupid jokers, they want to compete with India. They had given a photograph of a 2019 Chinese army drill, claiming it's a victory over India. Now this is what Pakistan indulges in. You know, हम बचपने में हम स्कूल में सुनते थे कि अक्सर स्कूल में क्या होता था कि हम अच्छे पढ़ने वाले बच्चे के बाजू पे बैठता था. तो नकल करने के लिए अकल भी चाहिए. इन नालायकों को अकल भी नहीं है.
If terrorism is a rabid dog, Pakistan is a wild handler. So we first need to bring the world collectively to combat this vile handler. Otherwise, this vile handler will end up breeding and raising more rabid dogs.
And let us very clearly understand that the word mediation carries with it a certain structured legal connotation. Talking to both the countries or their interlocutors at a point in time when there is tension and obviously there is concern around the world does not really constitute mediation.
In fact, it's not the first time that the Congress has questioned India's response, particularly to Pakistan's terror. From 2016 to 2025, not much seems to have changed, even if there was a brief moratorium to politics initially this time. In 2016, when India took revenge for the Uri attack, the Congress government questioned the surgical strike and demanded proof. In 2019, after 40 CRPF personnel attained martyrdom in the terrorist attack in Pulwama, India retaliated with airstrikes, to which the Congress again asked that there needs to be proof if the strikes took place at all. And now in 2025, the Congress initially began on a different note, but it is continuing to undermine India's stand by pushing the claim that there was some sort of a third-party involvement in India and Pakistan's ceasefire. The question today is this: while some in the party are vociferously supporting India and the government stand, some are repeatedly attacking the government, claiming that they are only questioning the government, but in a way questioning the army and its tactics as well. Has the Congress been completely split wide open because of the internal dynamics and dichotomy over Operation Sindoor?
सुख चैन की जिंदगी जियो, रोटी खाओ, वरना मेरी गोली तो है ही। जब आतंकवाद के 9 ठिकाने तय करके 22 मिनट में साथियों, 22 मिनट में उनको ध्वस्त कर दिया। सरदार पटेल की इच्छा थी कि पीओके वापस नहीं आता है तब तक सेना रुकनी नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन सरदार साहब की बात मानी नहीं गई।
अब ये ट्रोल की भाषा नहीं है तो क्या है? आपने तो खुद साबित, हमने नहीं, आपने नहीं, प्रधानमंत्री ने खुद साबित कर दिया जो अभी मैंने कहा, सरकार नहीं है, दिस इज लाइक अ ड्रामा कंपनी। एंड द लीड एक्टर हु इज नॉट इवन अ पॉपुलर एक्टर एनीमोर इज मिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी।
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Radhika Khera is spokesperson of the BJP, Sujata Paul from the Congress Party, Rajat Sethi is author and political commentator. I'm also joined by Sagar Srivastav, who's a political analyst. I want to go across to Sujata Paul first up. Leaders of your own party, as part of these MP delegations, are talking about how there can be no mediation from the US. One, because it is India's long-standing stance that there will be no third-party intervention. Secondly, for example, as I played out that bite by Manish Tiwari, just because US spoke to both sides and wanted to diffuse the situation doesn't constitute mediation. Ultimately, the Pakistani DGMO called the Indian DGMO to ask for ceasefire. Why is it that while your own leaders are making this point overseas, here in India, your leadership is refusing to take these clarifications?
Good evening to you, to my co-panelists and to your audiences. But when we talk about the Prime Minister, we must say that his language is definitely not becoming of the Prime Minister, the post he holds. And look at the things that he has been saying today. He has peddled so many lies about Sardar Patel and about POK. But before I come to that, the answer to your question.
Yes.
Of course, we stand one when it comes to our country. when we are talking about our country, we should be united, and definitely you can see, and you're also relying on the comments made on the speeches given by that is the Congress party and the opposition leaders abroad, because they are the stars of the delegations which have been sent. But I consider everyone in that delegation important. However, we have seen that on the one hand, you have Mr. Salman Khurshid, Dr. Shashi Tharoor talking about how Pakistan has behaved all these years, and we are not going to remain quiet when it comes to our country.
No, but you're not answering my question. Sujata Paul.
I am. I'm coming to that.
Sujata Paul, my question is very, very simple and very direct. On the issue of the ceasefire alone, or the question of the mediation alone, your own leaders, in fact, multiples of them are talking about the nuances involved. But here it seems the Congress party has some compulsion, possibly of domestic politics, which you claim you're not indulging in, of continuing to harp on it. Why?
It is the Prime Minister who is indulging in politics, because his pictures, dramatic pictures in uniform of the armed forces are all over the place. Even chief ministers, like the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, has been roaming around with that. So he's indulging in politics. But when we talk about what is happening as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned, we stand with the army. However, when the foreign minister makes a comment and it is not refuted by him, instead he gets officers to refute it, there are questions which are going to be raised. If Donald Trump in 11 days makes comments about the ceasefire 8 times, it is the Prime Minister, no less, who should be answering. We are Vishwagurus, right? Now he should also answer about why China and Pakistan have been brought closer. These are
all of those questions aside,
security.
All of those questions aside on foreign policy, broader issues, China's position, Pakistan's position, nobody's questioning those questions. Of course, you could ask them at an appropriate time, maybe during the next parliament session or in the next all-party meeting. I'm not sure why sound bites have to be given on that on a daily basis, but I'm asking you straightforwardly, before I go to my other guests, are you convinced about the fact the Indian military, the Indian political government, Indian delegations have come forward to say there was no mediation from the US? Are you going to drop this or not?
Look, as far as mediation is concerned, we haven't. If our delegations are out there sending out a clear message that in a bilateral issue, we will not even consider what Donald Trump or any person said. That is the fact, and that is the message which is going out. And this should be refuted by the government. But Nishikant,
government has refuted it. Sujata Paul, the government has refuted it multiple times at all levels. The External Affairs Ministry has refuted it. That's the nodal ministry to talk about it. DGMOs have explained it, that the Pakistani DGMO called him.
Of course.
So what is the confusion? Which version are you refusing to believe?
Look, if the DGMO called up, and what we did was we immediately called for stoppage for temporary purposes also of Operation Sindoor, or we stopped firing, or we weren't careful about what Pakistan could do, then the problem lies somewhere within the government, not our military.
Sorry, what problem? One second. What problem? You saying India should have not agreed to the ceasefire?
I am saying that the foreign minister should have been careful about what he has said if it hadn't happened.
Why are you going to the foreign minister's comment? His comment.
Once again,
are you talking about S. Jaishankar saying that at the start of the operation we informed Pakistan? That comment you're talking about? Yeah? Let's park that. Let's park that for a second. That's a separate issue.
Okay.
Let's park that for a second. That's a separate issue. He has clarified. Everybody else has clarified. And I am not sure what Congress party has to gain by going down this road where you're calling him a traitor. I don't understand it, but it's up to you. But I am sticking to the ceasefire and the mediation issue.
We are one as a nation.
The Indian military has clarified. The military you claim you are not questioning. That the DGMO from Pakistan called the Indian DGMO.
Shivani, we are questioning the government.
On what?
As to how, on every statement which is being made, whether it is Donald Trump or the External Affairs Minister.
Okay, after 10 explanations, including your own party members, I am not sure where the confusion is. But maybe, And this is my question to some other panelists on the show. You don't want to believe what the government is saying because this is some sort of a politicking mechanism or politicking issue you have found.
What are you
Otherwise,
saying?
what
We've
is
been
the reason
standing
to
with our
keep going
government.
on about the ceasefire issue? The
Because-
government has said everything it could say.
No, it hasn't. We
It
have
hasn't.
stood
Okay.
with our government. We are standing
Radhika
with our
Khera,
government. And even today, all they
the
need to
Congress
do is
party
refute
has
the
stood
charges.
with
That's
the
it.
government as much as it could. You should not ask for more. Radhika. I think you're on mute, Radhika.
Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening to all. First of all, let's start with the dialogue of the Congress spokesperson that Mr. Shashi Tharoor, Salman Khurshid, Manish Tiwari are stars. First, they tried to dim the light of these stars, and now they call them the stars. Congress has a lightning fast memory flips that has no spine to match them. And it's a plot twist in hypocrisy. They can't even stand by their own terms. And here you're talking about questioning the government. Let's start with what their most tallest leader, Rahul Gandhi. He lauded Chinese drone techniques when it was the indigenous Akash missiles which shot down the Chinese origin drones. I'm going to give out point by point. He criticized Rafale jets, called it a scam. Ajay Rai, during when we were just about to go ahead with the Operation Sindoor, he came around with those Nimbu Mirchi and did an entire drama, questioned the Rafale. Ki Rafale kab jaake girega? Rafale kab attack karega? Well, the Rafale was the one that delivered precise strikes and superior air dominance. Rahul Gandhi dismissed Make in India as a slogan, and today DRDO's indigenous drones, rockets and missiles are the ones that have actually destroyed air bases in Pakistan. He called Agniveer a scheme of use and throw when it was 3,000 Agniveers who manned the air defense systems. So I'm exposing Rahul Gandhi and his hypocrisy and his leaders. And when you talk about that they were standing by, why did you not take action against your own brother-in-law, the damad of the Congress party, Robert Vadra? Why did you not take action against Manish Shankar Iyer or Ajay Rai or that same MP of Rahul Gandhi who said Pradhan Mantri ki boti
Let's keep it focused. Let's keep it focused to Operation Sindoor and to specific issues of contention that the Congress party is repeatedly raising. Sir, I'm coming to you. Sir, I'm coming to you. Just hold on. Radhika Khera, I think the Congress party is insisting that the PM himself should clarify on the mediation issue. Why is the BJP or the government not willing to concede to this demand? What is so wrong in asking for the Prime Minister's statement on it?
Like you rightly pointed out in the beginning, when the Balakot strikes at, these people said, "Arey, wahan to machhar bhi nahi mare gaye hain, kuch bhi nahi hua hai." And their alliance partner today, Mr. Sanjay Roth, has gone on to say that Operation Sindoor was a failure. So we don't need to give replies to those people who are undermining the country outside. Rahul Gandhi is the brand ambassador and poster boy of Pakistan, and so is Mr. Pawan Khera, who's coming and saying this is a drama company. A party which has a government only in 3 states is telling us that Narendra Modi ji is the most unpopular leader today. Well, there have been innumerable questionnaires that have been done, surveys that have been done post the Operation Sindoor, and it has come out that Mr. Narendra Modi ji, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, is the most popular leader today. Why are they hurting that India has gone inside Pakistan for the first time since independence and ghar mein ghus ke maar ke aaye hain? Is that what is troubling them?
It has
Is
happened many times
that Mr. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister, is being welcomed by thousands and crores of people all across, and women and mothers and those who have lost their husbands have come out and said कि आज हमारा बदला पूरा हुआ, हमारे husband की शहादत का बदला पूरा हुआ. Is that what is troubling them? And this is exactly why the Congress party continues to remain in opposition.
Okay,
Every
1
time
second.
that the country does something good.
One second. I want to go. I want to bring in Sagar. Sujata Paul, I'll come back to you. 1 second, ma'am. You've had time. I'll come back to you. Sagar Srivastav, the question is this: when Congress party says, fine enough. I had said it a few days ago on the show that maybe even for somebody who speaks so well as S. Jaishankar, the construction of his sentence when he talked about at the start of the operation, we informed Pakistan that we're only hitting against terror camps, you could argue the construction of his sentence left a little bit to interpretation. But surely, after the first clarification, the second clarification, without clarification also, if you apply your mind for 2 minutes, you can understand what he's talking about. Now tell me, what is the sense in going down this road, where you're alleging, which is a very serious charge by the way, you're alleging that the External Affairs Minister committed treason?
No. In your selection pattern, the kind of voice modulation you just improvised just now. You are giving him benefit of doubt.
Yes, I am. I am absolutely giving him the benefit of doubt. I am not just benefit of doubt. I am trusting his version.
The line he chose definitely doesn't coincide with the national interest. I mean, at that brief period of time, at the brief period of second, it must have been a slip of tongue. That's what you're assuming. But, I mean, anybody who has been a diplomat all throughout his years, anybody who has been taken on serious roles, this is something very strange. I mean, if you...
So are you accusing him of treason?
आप आगाह कर रहे हैं, आप अगर अनजाने में भी आगाह कर रहे हैं दुश्मन को कि हमारी विमान शक्ति, हमारी वायु शक्ति उसके केंद्र बिंदु में जा रही है, so that raises question. दूसरा सवाल, प्रधानमंत्री जी को भी पुंछ जाना चाहिए था अभी तक, rather than speaking too much about how he managed and everything. And ये एक पैटर्न रहा है. राधिका जी ने बोला कि हम 3 राज्यों तक लिमिटेड हैं. That's not this is the timeline such.
So there are 2 Congress spokespersons in the panel. You have 2 Congress spokespersons in the panel, Shivani ji.
One second. No, one second. Radhika, you'll get your appropriate time. Let him have a say. Can I just have
I'm sorry. That's not the way you have a fair debate.
Calm down, Radhika, calm down. He's not from the Congress party.
No, you calm down, man. You never had 2 Congress spokespersons in the panel. He just said हम 3 राज्यों में.
Okay, one second. Can I just have Sagar finish? I'm going to go across to Rajat. Ma'am, please, both of you, I request you, please calm down. Don't speak over each other. You'll have your requisite time. Sagar, please finish what you're saying. One second, Sagar, please understand the question I'm posing. One leader raises serious questions, even referring to Jaishankar, for example, as JJ, which can only be interpreted as Jaichand. The other leaders are going overseas.
Then what will be the interpretation?
Sir, please let me finish my question. Please let me finish my question.
Some serious allegations.
Please let me finish my question.
The lady.
Just please let me finish my question, Sagar. One leader of the Congress party is raising these serious questions. The other leaders are explaining the government's and the country's position. Is the Congress party not coming across as confused?
In the parliamentary ecosystem, at least in India, we have right to say what we think. And that's the gravity of the democracy. It should be in line with the political maneuver. It should be in line with the national interest. But how can you justify if somebody questioning from BJP to our beloved, very own officer, armed force officer, on the basis of the same act what terrorists did, the same counter version of what the MLA or the person from BJP said. I feel very sorry. It's actually...
No, that's a completely separate issue. That's not the government stance at all.
If you're putting up that Congress has some different polarities, some different sects, that's how Congress have been.
Yeah, but this is coming from the leadership of the Congress party.
Unity and diversity. Why not? Why not? If Ambedkar can have argumentative talks with Gandhi, why not? At least we are not helping enemy lines. By disclosing some serious
let Rajat Sethi come in on that. If Ambedkar and Gandhi can have differences, why can't Rahul Gandhi, Jairam Ramesh and Salman Khurshid and Manish Tiwari have differences?
To churn the best eel, you need to have certain parliamentary discussion on board.
But this is not happening in parliament. That's the unfortunate part. But Sagar, I will request you not to intervene now because it's Rajat's turn. This is not happening in parliament. In parliament, debates can happen, questions can happen. Each parliamentarian can have their different views. But if you're claiming you're standing with the country, then this is not speaking in one voice. That much is also clear. Yes, Rajat Sethi, has the Congress party been split wide open because of this Operation Sindoor and the semantics that each faction is going with? Because they are diametrically opposite. You have that clip where P. Chidambaram was asked about this entire Jaishankar controversy. And he said the External Affairs Minister has clarified. Let's leave it at that. Even he understands that pushing this line is possibly of more damage than any good to the Congress party.
See, Shivani ji, I think there is a limit to how much you can push your conscience towards politics and can sacrifice your national interest over and over and over again. And I believe a lot of leaders within the Congress party have this unease. And this unease has consistently been there. I have personally spoken to several Congress politicians also after 2019, the kind of questioning that Congress party did on looking for proofs turned out to be the biggest detriment. while nationalism does support the BJP to some extent, the itch in the Congress leadership right now is, how do you steer the conversation away? How, so their entire thought process is shuttling between the two causes. One is a nationalist cause, and the other cause is doing politics. And every time politics tries to take over, you will see these ridiculous statements coming out. For the past 2 weeks or so, we are only hearing this mediation story and Jaishankar story. I mean, how many more answers do you need, for God's sake? Let me tell you, Shivani ji, on an important point on mediation. The central policy of Indian government for all these decades has been that in Kashmir issue, we will not allow mediation. Is terrorism also a Kashmir issue? No. Why are our politicians and our members of parliament going out? Is that not mediation? Of course, that is not mediation. You want the global sympathy towards our side because we are the victims of terrorism. Therefore, terrorism is a global issue. It is not a bilateral issue, and it requires mediation from every single humanitarian power that is out there in the world. Had there been a mediation question, why did members of the Congress party go into other countries and try and bring and address the issue in different foreign lands?
No, that's fine. That's fair. That's fair. But Rajat, the third question,
which I believe even the government isn't framing, and the government spokespersons are also not framing it properly. This is not a Kashmir issue. This was never a Kashmir issue. This was only a terrorism issue, and we only responded on terrorist attacks that happened on our soil.
No, the third question,
it should finish the topic of mediation once and for all.
No, but they're not willing. I don't think that even if the Prime Minister was to give a statement on it, it will settle the issue, because this is just because Donald Trump has muddled the waters so much that this has become a tool in the hands of the Indian opposition.
Dumb-wit people who have these ossified and frozen minds. You can't deal with them. You can't speak to them. So what we are trying to do right now is we're only trying to speak to the public. We're trying to explain to the public what does mediation mean and where is mediation line to be drawn in. If tomorrow any kind of a discussion happens on Kashmir, there should be an absolute red line from Indian side.
No, but my question is, my second question to you, Rajat, is the third question the Congress party repeatedly is asking is that where are those 4, 5, whatever number terrorists who were involved in the Pahalgam terror attack? Is that a fair question to ask or no?
Absolutely fair. Keep asking. Keep looking for, as long as you don't ask for specific operational details. This is a live operation going on right now. Hold your horses. Look at what happened post 9/11. George W. Bush wasn't asked any questions when the operations were going on. For almost a decade, more than a decade, they kept hunting down Osama bin Laden. The forces, the CIA, and all of these multiple operatives were on the ground doing their job. Are you trying to instill lack of confidence in those people who are on the ground risking their lives to hunt down those terrorists?
Okay.
And
can I take that to Sujata?
That is what the DNA of Congress party is.
Sujata ji, my sincere question to you, when you say where are those 4 terrorists, does it sound like a question for the government, or do you think this risks being seen as a question for the armed forces and therefore demoralizing for them?
Please remember that as far as our armed forces are concerned, they will do exactly what their strategy is, and that strategy was to target terror camps. Now, when we talk about the government, it is the government's responsibility to explain the ceasefire for that very reason, because that was not a decision of the armed forces, right? Now, let's come to these 4 terrorists. If there was an intelligence failure, I don't know how many programs have been done on various television channels on the intelligence failure or these 4 terrorists. I'm glad that at least you have asked this question. And it is important because those terrorists were involved in the December 2023 Poonch terror attack, October 2024 Gagangir terror attack, in October 2024 Gulmarg terror attack. And when you talk about Congress people have been sent in these delegations. They are very much part of this country. And when we talk about the DNA of the Congress, these spokespersons should realize that you are talking about the DNA of the country. And within the country, you could have some variations.
Okay. I have a minute left. I have to give this to Radhika. Ma'am, I've run out of time. A minute left to Radhika Khera, please. Radhika, what is the problem with some? One second. What is the problem with accountability questions and intel failure questions?
This is Asif Sheikh, one of the terrorists of the Pahalgam attack, जिसने पूछा था कि धर्म क्या है और धर्म पूछ के हमारे बहादुरों को मारा था. One has been slaughtered and killed. Over 100 terrorists have been killed in the camps of Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. क्या पता उसमें कितने मरे हैं, कौन मरा है? We don't count the body bags. Our army chief has gone on to say that on record. But we have killed a number of terrorists. And this one terrorist I've showed you, and you have also your channel, has covered. This photo I got from your channel only.
No,
your
of course we
channel
have covered.
it.
What about the
yes,
others?
So 1 out of the 4 has been killed and we have it on record. And others, we are trying to track down who all have been killed, and Operation Sindoor, like the Prime Minister, the DGMO, the armed forces have continuously said that Operation Sindoor is on. This is just a pause, and we will ensure, and I'm repeating on your channel in the words of the Prime Minister, कि उनके आकाओं को उनके घर में घुस के मारा जाएगा. Like Rajat ji said, how many years did it take to kill Osama bin Laden? How many years?
We can't quite compare it to Osama bin Laden, I'm afraid. Osama bin Laden in Indian context would be Dawood Ibrahim, Hafiz Saeed or Maulana Masood Azhar. Let's not talk about Osama bin Laden when we're talking about the 4 terrorists.
Why was Dawood Ibrahim around to roam free during the UPA government? The same UPA government which
No, I can't go down that path.
the army from conducting any strikes after 26/11.
Okay, I have to leave it at that. I've run out of time. The question that all parties need to ask is that when you ask for operational questions like where are those 4 terrorists, does it sound like a question that is at the PM's door, or does it sound like a question which would be for the army to answer? And then does it seem like you're actually posing questions to the army? That's a fine line. But I leave it at that. I do thank our guests for joining us. Moving on, some breaking updates coming up. Top defense sources have told Money Control that India is exploring the possibility of a potential partnership with French aerospace and defense major Saffron to enhance its engine-making capabilities for the Indian Air Force fighter aircrafts and to develop engines for the next generation Tejas light combat aircraft MK2. The move after Operation Sindoor is aimed at broadening India's options to enable faster indigenous production of fighter jets for the Indian Air Force. US-based GE Aerospace is supplying engines for the IAF's Tejas Mk1 fighter jets to HAL, but delays in delivery have affected the IAF's upgradation timeline, and India is focusing very, very firmly on those timelines. Now, I have with me Nalin Mehta, editor of Money Control, joining me in the studio here. Nalin, how significant could this be?
This is a very significant move, Shivani, because this is a move that has been decided on after Operation Sindoor. Fundamentally, is aimed at broad basing India's options for the development and the expansion of the Air Force's fleet. Fundamentally, if you see, the Air Force has 31 active squadrons. It needs to get up to 42 as per its own avowed aims. In Operation Sindoor, we've seen there have been concerns about the reliability of foreign partners. There have been concerns about technology of transfer and so on and so forth. And there is also, the Prime Minister has made it very clear that Operation Sindoor is not over, that India reserves the right to hit back hard in the new normal, as he called it, in the Sindoor doctrine, if there is a terror attack, which means that India has to constantly keep augmenting and expanding its defense capability. So as part of that, a number of moves are being made in terms of the armament and the expansion of India's armament for the defense forces. This move is part of that. The idea is to increase the indigenous production of Indian Air Force fighter aircraft indigenously, to increase the speed of delivery, to increase all of India's options. If you see the Tejas MK1, it was first commissioned in 2009-2010. About 40 were commissioned to be delivered by 2016. They were powered by the American GE Aerospace's engines. The second order was in 2021, which was for about 80 aircraft. Which were again 73 fighter aircraft and 10 trainer aircraft, again to be powered by GE's engines. That is where the delay has been. The engines had, the first of these aircraft were to have been delivered by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited by the middle of last year, 2024. If you saw, Shivani, at the Bangalore Aerospace show earlier this year, there was that video that went viral of the Air Force chief berating HAL for this. HAL later put out a statement saying that it wasn't because of laziness but because of technical issues. One of those technical issues is that there's been a delay by GE in sending the engines.
This is also happening in the context of the unreliability of America as a partner for India, particularly in the defense sector. Do you think this is also sending that message?
So I think there is certainly signaling in this. The sources that we spoke to, the top defense forces we spoke to, clearly said that India is looking to expand, looking for all options to expand the option on the table, right? And the aim is that India is not ruling out anybody, but India wants to have more options on the table because we also now need to have much larger numbers of aircraft in a much faster timeline. So which is why Saffron becomes important. If you, in the GE's case, the first of 99 engines that were promised to India and the first of these should have come last year, has now been delivered now, and that will go on. But if India opening this line with Saffron to explore the possibility of co-development, to explore the possibility of enhancing its engine making capabilities and so on, opens up India's options, gives it another lever with GE, for example, and
puts pressure on the other delivery partners.
And I think, Shivani, very importantly, this move should not be seen in isolation. Today, also, Rajnath Singh, the defense minister, has inaugurated, has made a statement on the AMCA, the 5th generation aircraft, which has been opened with the Aeronautics Defense Agency, and the idea is to open it up to industry partnerships. So you're going to see the making of a new military industrial complex.
Absolutely. In fact, Nalin, as I thank you, that was going to be my next focus. India today making a significant announcement regarding its fighter jet program. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has approved the development of the advanced medium combat aircraft, India's first 5th generation stealth fighter jet. This ambitious project aims to enhance India's air power with a medium weight, deep penetration fighter jet featuring advanced stealth capabilities. Interestingly, the project will have equal opportunities for private and public sector on competitive basis. Any Indian company can bid independently, as a joint venture or as part of a consortia. The AMCA is designed for multi-role missions including air superiority, ground strikes, suppression of enemy air defenses and electronic warfare. The initial development cost is estimated to be about 15,000 crores. This move comes amidst reports of China fast-tracking its delivery of stealth fighter jets to Pakistan. India's focus on developing indigenous capabilities is also a significant step towards self-reliance in this sector. The need for India's own 5th generation fighter aircraft cannot be overstated. India faces sophisticated air forces from neighboring countries like China, which is developing an advanced 5th generation fighter. China's supply of advanced aircrafts, including a potential 5th generation fighter like J-20 or J-31 to Pakistan, heightens the threat to India's air superiority, necessitating a 5th generation fighter to maintain a strategic edge for India. 5th generation fighters with low observable technology, reduced radar detection, enabling India to conduct both covert operations and penetrate advanced enemy air defenses. Advanced avionics, sensor fusion and network-centric warfare capabilities in these fighter jets provide superior situational awareness critical for modern combat. A 5th generation fighter strengthens India's deterrence posture, which is key in maintaining regional power balance. Projects like the AMCA align with India's self-reliance initiatives, and not to forget, with 4th generation fighters like the Su-30 MKI aging, 5th generation platforms ensure the Indian Air Force remains competitive against the evolving global military technologies. Currently, there are only 3 countries that have a 5th generation fighter jet, and that too of their own tech. First, of course, is USA, that has had the F-22 since 2005 and the F-35 since 2015. China has the Chengdu J-20 since 2017. There is ambiguity on the status of J-35, which reportedly China is planning to give to Pakistan next year. And Russia has the Sukhoi 57 since 2020 in operational capacity. I spoke to Group Captain M.J.A. Vinod, who's a former fighter pilot of the Indian Air Force, on this development. Listen in. How do you look at this news of India wanting to develop the 5th generation fighter pilot indigenously, but in partnership of both the private and the public sector?
It's a wonderful news. In fact, I was when I heard the news, I was just speaking to my colleagues and friends who are directly involved in the project. But Shivani, I have a little bit of a fear, and I must express this fear. See, any private partnership, suppose you are the entrepreneur, you're going to put in your money. You will look for when will I get my ROI and how much of ROI, isn't it? These are the 2 basic questions I might have in mind. So it's a long drawn project, 2036. And the amount of money you're going to sink in is something you can only project, but you can't really predict. So suppose Shivani and I, both of us have sunk in, say, you 5 crores, I 5 crores. But down the road, we come to know we need 5 more and then 5 more. And when will I start getting my return? These are the questions that a private partner or a private player will 100% ask. And most of the private person who's going to put in the money, Shivani, is not going to put in the money from his pocket. Most of them, I am sure,
they'll
would
get
be
investments
enlisted.
in. No, I get your point, but globally speaking, there are private players who produce the most cutting-edge fighter pilot technology. So it's not unheard of.
Absolutely not. In fact, a couple of days ago, I was in some such institution where you can't make out it is a private entity, but for which, Shivani, we need to rework. I mean, apart from giving this permission, there is a policy framework change that is required. Now, let me tell you 3 policy framework change that is immediately required. One, upfront order needs to be given by the Indian Air Force or Indian Armed Forces saying that this many I will surely buy from you.
But that's after the technology is developed and proved, right? We don't have this technology right now.
Correct, Shivani. That is not how it works. Now, in the private, when does a private person, when do they put in money? They'll put in money saying that, see, this is my promise. I will work on my promise. And will you buy X amount of aeroplane? And then only I will deliver my promise. You deliver from your side's, your end of the bargain that you will buy 120, 150 aircraft. So then only I will deliver, I will be able to deliver on my promise. Upfront, I will be able to put in money. So this is something that has not been heard of, Shivani. So I'm sure, Government of India has thought through this, like we are thinking through this in our program. And they are probably going to give the upfront order. As of now, it is not there. But I'm really, really excited because it is not going to be just HAL who's going to, drive this entire thing. And I have been proponent of private players need to come in.
So let's look at it this way. Group Captain, I mean, this is an opportunity for a Lockheed Martin, for example, to come from India. We've already had certain systems that have, the world has, sat up and taken notice of. Used during Operation Sindoor. So a private player will have the motivation that, if they develop something that is globally competitive, then it's not just about selling to India. It is also about selling globally. Like we procure from very private players. I mean, Rafale is a particular example of that. So this could lead to greater focus of private players wanting to become the next big defense player.
Absolutely, Shivani. I mean, I didn't want to take the word of Northrop Grumman or, any such companies' names. But now that you mentioned it, that is something which we need to really look at. And 2 things will happen. A, at the moment, the largest fighter aeroplane order floating around in the world is ours. There is no other fighter aeroplane order that is floating around. So I'm sure many private players would want to come in. How the modus of them getting in is something we need to look at because especially from US and UK, there are good players available or in the entire European Union, including probably, Dassault Aviation. When these people come in, we need to be little careful of what we are making and that should not fall into wrong hands or go via to China or Pakistan.
I'm sure there will be some contingencies that will be built into whatever private player, comes into partnership with this. But I do want you to put on your fighter pilot hat and tell our viewers why the 5th generation is so important. The Rafale, 4.5 generations. What is the difference between a Rafale, for example, and a 5th generation plane, and why does India need it so badly?
Absolutely. So, see, the framework of 5th generation or 4.5 generation has not been formally put in place. But informally, it is there. In a 5th generation fighter, and the one which we are looking at to make, it is going to be optionally piloted. In the sense, when I don't need to pilot it, I don't need to put a pilot in it. For example, if it is going to be a straight-in milk run bombing exercise, or it is ferrying from A to B, that is, say, from Bangalore to Delhi it is going, or Bangalore to Pathankot it is going, a ferry flight. You don't need a pilot. You don't need to put a pilot.
So that's possible in the 5th generation itself, not in a 6th generation?
In the AMCA we are looking at.
Okay.
In the AMCA we are looking at as optionally piloted. Secondly, it has to have stealth features, both in terms of sound and in terms of radar. It has to have internal weapon carrying capability. It has to have something called super cruise, which is very, very important. Super cruise is you are going supersonic cruise in without using the reheat, that is the afterburner. So you will save a lot of fuel while going from A to B faster. Air-to-air refueling, as it is, it has to have, and voice activated like it already has. Rafale has it. I mean, you can select a certain frequency, you can select a certain weapon by telling Rafale to select it and confirming it with a button.
Okay.
So, like such high-end features have to be sort of a base. In the base model itself, it should be available.
All right.
But most important in this, Shivani, is the engine. I hope and pray that by the time we are going to go get this, GTRE plays ball, and we have the GTRE, the derivative engine in place. If not any good engine, but it has to have multi-engine. Single engine won't do like an F-35. You saw the number of crashes. We have covered a few in this very channel itself. So it has to have multi-engine. So these are few features that I'm looking at, and they are there in AMCA. And the chief test pilot is a batchmate of mine. And I keep speaking to him for my, intellectual kindling in the evening, and in the morning also we had a long talk. So these are features that I'm really, really excited that some private player is coming in, Shivani, and it is a good step.
Moving on, 2 days after a container ship with hazardous chemicals capsized off Kochi coast, the Indian Navy and Coast Guard are working constantly to contain any possible oil leakage. Containers from the sunken vessel have already been found ashore in parts of Kollam and Alappuzha. So far, no oil slick has been observed along the coastline. However, authorities fear that the vessel's fuel may have started leaking into the surrounding waters. Marine experts say that the authorities must try to contain as much oil and pollution as possible offshore, as onshore cleanup has limitations, especially during the monsoon season. The sinking of a cargo ship near Kerala coast on May 25 has raised environmental concerns due to its oil and chemical spill. The vessel released substantial quantities of diesel and oil into the Arabian Sea, along with hazardous chemicals like calcium carbide. The Kerala State Disaster Management Authority has issued a public warning recommending against touching any containers or oil that may wash up ashore. Fishermen have been asked not to enter the sea, and fishing has been banned in some areas. The Coast Guard is currently monitoring potential impacts on the affected area and its rich biodiversity, which makes it one of India's most popular tourist destinations. So is the spillage a dangerous one? What are its larger ramifications, and what's the possible environmental threat? We decode that and more. First up, let me bring to you some of the most dramatic footages that have been accessed. According to the Indian Coast Guard, the MSC Elsa 3 vessel capsized rapidly in the early hours of Sunday due to flooding in one of its holds. Next are the visuals of the rescue efforts launched by the Indian Coast Guard. All 24 crew members on board this sunken ship were rescued by the Indian Navy personnel after an hours-long operation. Authorities say some containers have been found along the coast of southern Kollam. A total of 29 cargo containers have been washed ashore already, with 27 of them being located in Kollam in Kerala. Early on Monday though, 2 containers were also spotted in Alappuzha. Locals discovered one of them around 6:30 in the morning and informed the authorities. According to the Indian Coast Guard, the vessel capsized rapidly on Sunday because of the flooding of one of its holds. A holds is a section below deck where the cargo is stored. Now, the vessel, we are told, was carrying 640 containers, including 13 containing hazardous cargo and 12 with calcium carbide. Additionally, the ship also had 84.44 metric tons of diesel and 367.1 metric tons of furnace oil in its tanks. Authorities in Kerala are on high alert after containers were found along the coast in Kollam and Alappuzha districts. Some other areas that are under watch are Thrissur, Ambalappuzha, Arattupuzha and Karunagappally. All of these areas are now under close watch. The vessel went down with 12 containers containing calcium carbide. So what is this chemical and why is it so dangerous? Calcium carbide is a colorless solid formed by heating lime and coke together at temperatures around 2000 degrees Celsius in an electric furnace. It's mainly used to generate acetylene gas, a key ingredient in producing various industrial organic chemicals. Additionally, it's often used to artificially ripen fruits. When calcium carbide comes into contact with water, it triggers a rapid and intense chemical reaction. This reaction produces acetylene gas and calcium hydroxide and releases a significant amount of heat. Acetylene is a highly flammable gas and can form an explosive situation in the presence of air or oxygen, while calcium hydroxide has severe effects when it comes into contact with humans. The spill in sea can trigger explosive reactions, and it also risks fire, heat and toxicity to the marine life. Now, this oil spillage is always a big possible environmental threat, which is why it is such a big issue. The ecological damage that it can cause is huge. Oil can affect food sources for sea life, making it less available or of poorer quality. Oil can also coat marine animals, disrupting breathing, movement, and it's toxic if ingested. It can also damage organs and reproduction. Not just that, animals that survive the initial environmental hazards may still suffer in the weeks and months following the leak. What about the ecosystems? That's equally important because coral reefs, mangroves, coastal habitats like Kerala's biodiversity-rich shores can all suffer long-term damage. Oil smothers plants and disrupts their food chains. It also impacts breeding and reproduction, for example, contaminating bird or turtle nests onshore. So how is an oil spill usually cleaned and cleared? Methods include a technique called skimming, which involves removing oil from the sea surface before it can reach sensitive areas along the coastline. In situ burning involves burning a particular patch of oil after it has concentrated in an area and therefore getting rid of it. While another way is releasing chemical dispersants which help break down the oil into smaller droplets, making it easier for microbes to consume and further break it down into less harmful compounds.
This is The Drive.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Enhancing India's indigenous defense capabilities and fostering a robust domestic aerospace industrial ecosystem, the Defense Ministry and the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has confirmed the approval of the Advanced Multi-Combat Aircraft Program. The Aeronautical Development Agency is set to execute this program through industry partnership. There is going to be a role of private players in this as well. This is important because it is a move towards harnessing the indigenous expertise, capability and capacity to develop the AMCA prototype. It will be a major milestone towards Atmanirbharta in the aerospace sector. This will also give equal opportunities to private and public sectors on a competitive basis. There is going to be soon a 5th generation fighter jet that India is going to be indigenously producing.
In a major push to India's Atmanirbharta approach in the defense sector, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has approved the execution model of AMCA program. AMCA program is India's 5th generation fighter aircraft program, which stands for Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. Till now, we have seen all the developments in papers, documents and the news. But now the development will start on ground because we are expecting an expression of interest in some days from now. It has been made very clear that this program and in fact the development will not be limited to public sector undertakings only. This time it can be an equal opportunity for both private industry and public sector undertakings. In fact, there can be a joint venture that would be working for the development of AMCA aircraft. We know that how in several exhibitions we have seen the prototype model and in fact the developments that have happened till now. The prototype, of course, is expected by 2027, and the actual aircraft and the deliveries are expected by 2036. We know that how DRDO is the lead agency, and ADA, which is an arm of DRDO, is working on the entire project. Till now, officials say that timelines are on track, and by 2036, we can expect that AMCA would be a reality. And in fact, the prototype will be seen by 2027. But having seen Sindoor, in fact, the Operation Sindoor, we know that how critical and important this project is going to be for Indian Armed Forces. We know that how a 5th generation aircraft is something that Indian Armed Forces need at this point in time. And given the fact that Indian Air Force as of now have aircraft like Rafale, Su-30 AMCA and Mirage, so they of course need a 5th generation fighter aircraft, and having one indigenous aircraft is an advantage in itself. At this point in time, while CCS has already approved the execution, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has further approved, and now it will be formalized that how public sector undertakings and private entities are coming together to work on the development of this AMCA program that is going to be reality for Indian Armed Forces by 2030.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Enhancing India's indigenous defense capabilities and fostering a robust domestic aerospace industrial ecosystem, the Defense Ministry and the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has confirmed the approval of the Advanced Multi-Combat Aircraft Program. The Aeronautical Development Agency is set to execute this program through industry partnership. There is going to be a role of private players in this as well. This is important because it is a move towards harnessing the indigenous expertise, capability and capacity to develop the AMCA prototype. It will be a major milestone towards Atmanirbharta in the aerospace sector. This will also give equal opportunities to private and public sectors on a competitive basis. There is going to be soon a 5th generation fighter jet that India is going to be indigenously producing.
In a major push to India's Atmanirbharta approach in the defense sector, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has approved the execution model of AMCA program. AMCA program is India's 5th generation fighter aircraft program, which stands for Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. Till now, we have seen all the developments in papers, documents and the news. But now the development will start on ground, because we are expecting an expression of interest in some days from now. It has been made very clear that this program and in fact the development will not be limited to public sector undertakings only. This time it can be an equal opportunity for both private industry and public sector undertakings. In fact, there can be a joint venture that would be working for the development of AMCA aircraft. We know that how in several exhibitions we have seen the prototype model and in fact the developments that have happened till now. The prototype, of course, is expected by 2027, and the actual aircraft and the deliveries are expected by 2036. We know that how DRDO is the lead agency, and ADA, which is an arm of DRDO, is working on the entire project. Till now, officials say that timelines are on track, and by 2036, we can expect that AMCA would be a reality. And in fact, the prototype will be seen by 2027. But having seen Sindoor, in fact, the Operation Sindoor, we know that how critical and important this project is going to be for Indian Armed Forces. We know that how a 5th generation aircraft is something that Indian Armed Forces need at this point in time. And given the fact that Indian Air Force as of now have aircraft like Rafale, Su-30 AMCA and Mirage, So they of course need a 5th generation fighter aircraft, and having one indigenous aircraft is an advantage in it.
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome. It looks so nice with our design team working these graphics of the next 5th gen stealth fighter, the AMCA aircraft that's going to be developed by Bharat in our studios. Imagine when it goes live and the real one rolls out, ready to defend our skies. This is a significant push towards enhancing Bharat's air power and indigenous defense capabilities. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has approved the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft Program, or the AMCA program. The 5th generation fighter aims to rub shoulders with the 5th generation fighters of other nations like that of Russia, the US and China. Bharat's air dominance in the region will perhaps be enhanced in trying to tackle the Pakistani threat and also the Chinese supply of weapons. Bharat showcased the power of its weapons during Operation Sindoor, crippling the terror camps and Pakistan's air defenses and even tackling Pakistani drones and missiles from causing damage on Bharat's soil. The Aeronautical Development Agency is set to execute the program through industry partnership with a rollout expected in 2035. We are very sincerely hoping as a country that it is sooner than later. Here's a deep dive. Bharat's 5th gen fighter mission, it's got to have a max speed of 1.8 Mach or nearly 2